Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we're going to be doing something very different because we're going to be talking about Dawn of War Definitive Edition. So this is just released today. I've had a little bit of early access. Most of that time was just reliving my childhood, not going to lie. So what I want to do is talk about my experience with it, because with Definitive Edition you get access to everything for Dawn of War 1. This means that you get the base game, Winter Assault, Dark Crusade and Soulstorm all at the same time. You can switch and play whichever you want right from the main menu. So let's talk about my experience because, yeah, it's kind of nostalgic. Before anything, a big thank you to our video sponsor, Instant Gaming. Instant Gaming is a platform where you'll be able to buy games at discounted rates. And yes, that will also include Dawn of War Definitive Edition. There's been some decent games releasing lately, and obviously it gets kind of expensive if you're trying to jump onto multiple titles. So why not pick yourself up a great deal and get more bang for your buck, especially if you're a tabletop player, because the meta is changing and you're going to want to buy some new minis as new armies are being released or your faction gets updated. I can't wait, for example, for the new Tomb King, so yeah, I do want to save up some money and get a good deal here. Not only that, but we do have a monthly giveaway going on, win a game of your choice, so all you have to do is click on the link in the description below and just sign up. You don't even have to make a purchase. Making a purchase with my special link, also in the description below, supports the channel at no extra cost to you. This is a company I've been working with for over a year now. I like them. It's a relationship that I feel quite comfortable, and hell, I've been able to get really good savings buying games myself, which is a massive benefit for me, as yeah, there's a lot of games I want to play. And with that being said, a big thank you to Instant Gaming once again for the sponsor. Let's jump into the video. Alright, so the game itself runs pretty well from what I've been able to see. I've had no issues barring one which is more about saving. Now keep in mind that I'm on an early build, so stuff can actually get fixed by the time that it launches, which is around the time that this video goes live. There has been multiple updates since I've had access to the title itself. The main thing here is you've got access to all the campaigns from the very beginning, which is great because I very much like Dark Crusade and Soulstorm. I think those are really cool because I like the whole Battle for Middle-earth aspect there, where you're taking control of territory, taking out other factions, though Winter Assault is still a goated DLC, that's for sure. For this part of the video, I'm going to talk about just like the campaigns with Soulstorm and general gameplay, so this is just everything. It's going to be a lot of the stuff that you remember, keep that in mind. Obviously, nothing's really changing in that scope. This is a definitive edition overall, so what this does is make sure that everything is supported by newer PCs, because as your newer machines get more and more powerful, sometimes older games just can't really cope with that. So yeah, everything runs very well. I had no issues with overheating in my PC or any frame drops or anything as far as I'm aware. Everything just felt like how it looked to me when I was a kid, when I was playing Dawn of War originally. There has been some improvements to the game, so this is like specific stuff that they've listed out for 4K support, which is great because I play in a 4K monitor. Enhanced camera and wider draw distance for cinematic play, it's fantastic. Optimized HUD and layout for widescreen monitors. Again, this is something that's becoming more and more common with gamers lately. Upgraded 64-bit and compatible with old school mods, which right now obviously there's no mods coming out, but hopefully there is going to be some sort of workshop. If not, we could just use the old format, right? You know, it's just going into Nexus and so on. There has been an improvement when it comes to pathfinding, and it does feel a lot better, which is really nice to see, because some troops were just kind of stupid when it came to the base game. So I'm playing Tau, and that's mostly because I really like the Tau. Yes, you can get your jokes out in the comments, but Tau were one of my really favorite factions for 40k. I actually have a Tau tattoo, so when it came to Soulstorm, I really liked playing the Tau. But yeah, let's talk about it. There are some modern style keybinds and so on. You just have to go into the options and change stuff around, including, which I didn't notice, there is a scale option for your mouse. So if you've got some issues seeing stuff, which is why I like using a larger monitor, for example, you can actually make the mouse cursor a lot larger so you don't get lost so often, which is very useful. One thing that I'm not too keen on is the fact that it's still on the arrow keys when it comes to movement. I would have liked for that to be on the WASD keys. It's something that is just increasingly common with gamers. So yeah, it's not a deal breaker, it's just something that it's really important to note out. There doesn't seem to be a lot of functionality to changing keybinds yourself, which I think a lot of people would have preferred. But it's easy to remember the keybinds once you start getting into it. Obviously, like, you know, R is reinforcement, L is usually for like a champion and stuff, D is sometimes for... I think it was the shield drones for the Fire Warriors here. But yeah, after a little bit of time just to get the rust off, because it has been a while since I've played Dawn of War, I was pretty much back into it and I knew what builds to go for, what units to recruit, all the usual stuff. It felt like just returning to a better time, which is always really what you want from a definitive edition or something that gets remastered, all the usual stuff. You want it to feel like how it was when you first played the original titles and not have changes come in that's so sweeping that it just feels completely different. Let's take a quick moment here and appreciate the old style of broadside battlesuits. I mean, the new one's alright, but I don't know, man, the old ones for me were just always cooler. Getting the two railguns on the mounted shoulders is just nicer than the big kind of fat one that we have now on the tabletop. Not shaming it or anything, but yeah, it just looks better. Anyways, so I did manage to play a few battles. I played through a bit of a campaign. There will be a stream later on today where I'll be able to play this. But overall, I do think that everything just looks a lot better. Textures have been upscaled, which is great. Obviously, this game is not going to look modern in that scale that it's not going to look with today's standards of graphics. It's still very early graphics, but I don't think that that should be an issue for most people, considering that this is an iconic title. Dawn of War 1 was a game that got a lot of people into the hobby. Dawn of War 2 changed things up for not really a good thing, in my honest opinion. Real-time tactics going away from RTS just was pretty strange. And it's a shame we never got a third one, right? The optimization does feel great. The fact that you can have just so many corpses on the ground and just damage done, everything can be kept persistent. And you don't feel it. You don't feel like your machine is going to be struggling a lot. Or at all, for that matter. I don't think I had any issues. Now, what I do have to talk about is the AI. Obviously, remember that the AI for Dawn of War was never really that good, so it does launch attacks and so on, and this is in normal mode. It's generally a little bit stronger when it goes on hard, but I was just wanting to get my bearings a bit. Yep, don't expect very intelligent AI, that's for sure. But you're definitely just coming here to do cool stuff, right? You want to see big armies and so on. Another bit of contention here, which obviously will be fixed up with mods. It does feel like the armies are a bit too small in that case. Obviously, these are the limitations from the original game, but it would have been nice if the developers would have just kind of upped it up a little bit. I think a lot of people are just used to playing with the many mods that do increase the size of your armies, and yeah, you kind of just want a lot going on. These maps are fairly large. I do feel like more troopers can and should be available. That being said, it's still very much a classic, and the battles still feel very, very satisfying, especially once you start jumping in to the stronghold battles if you're playing as Dark Crusade or Soulstorm, or if you're just doing some large-scale battles with friends online. Pathfinding definitely does feel a bit better when you start looking towards the big stronghold battles. So this is very cheesy because obviously with the Tau you can basically stay hiding away, just use some Barracudas and win the game. But I'm going to be launching an attack mostly because I was going to do the cheesy method, and then I completely forgot that Devilfish can't actually use a jump pack, which is really, really sad. I think there was an addition through a mod back in the day where you could have like the Devilfish and the Hammerheads use their thrusters to kind of jump over terrain. And here you can see some glorious Tau melee. Yes, I will be spreading some Tau propaganda wherever possible when it comes to this, because there's way too much Space Marine bias when it comes to 40k, and I will continue to say that until we get a little bit more attention. Let's show off some large-scale combat here, right? So kind of maxed out there with my population for both infantry and vehicle, and I'm going to be pushing in straight into what is the killy spot. There are a bunch of orcs there, and I'm just going to be fighting my way through. I'm literally just giving them an attack move, which definitely feels better too. I'm not sure if they fixed anything about that, but sometimes there was issues with attacks moves in the original version of the game. There is still the usual jank. Like for example, in this area in the killy spot, I did have a fire warrior falling into unplayable area, and he's still alive, but yeah, he can't be used essentially. I had to just click delete and had him killed off, which is a shame, you know, they killed off a whole unit, but it was causing a few problems. But that's obvious, that's stuff that's always been there, and it's stuff that generally doesn't really get looked on too much because it's very, very rare circumstances that it happens. But yeah, you can see here, right, I am pushing in. My troops are having no problem. Some of them are dying. I am recruiting where it needs to be. I am sending them in. I did forget actually one of the hammerheads, I think. No problems whatsoever. The orcs did cause a decent amount of damage, but I think given the fact that I had so many fire warriors and a lot of focus fire coming in from the hammerheads, the 2 barracudas I ended up getting, and just a few sky ray gunships, they couldn't really deal with much. Personally, I would have liked a few AI improvements just to make the AI a little bit more killy, but I imagine that that wasn't in the scope for this. They wanted just to make it playable, let people enjoy the game how it was intended to back then. And it definitely scratches that itch. I've been wanting to go back to Dawn of War for a while, and I decided to wait. Why play the original one, which can have issues, especially when you're trying to play on a newer machine, when the definitive edition was coming, and it's just going to be a lot smoother. I can't wait to see how it's going to work with mods. They do say that it's lovingly crafted to be compatible with 20 years worth of modding, and you know, there's a lot of faction mods and stuff that people really do like, or extra unit mods for your campaigns if you like just adding a lot more complications into it, which I really do. It ends up being super, super fun, especially when Titans come into play. One personal thing that I'm really waiting for is hopefully not too long to wait to play with Unification, because Dawn of War Unification mod is absolutely fantastic, works incredibly well with Soulstorm, for example, and it just adds so much flavor to the campaign. Price-wise, it's coming out at $30 US, well, $29.99, and if you do own Dawn of War on the Anniversary Edition on Steam or on Good Old Games, you get a 30% discount. I think that's fairly fair. Like, it's a pretty good price point. There's been a lot of companies doing definitive editions and stuff and then selling them off as brand new titles, and this just doesn't work. So yeah, I think that's actually fairly fair. So the big question is, should you buy this game? And I'd say if you like Dawn of War, if you want to relive Dawn of War, if you like 40k, you like Warhammer in general, yeah. Like, I can't say anything against it, to be honest. I can't really classify this video as a review because I like to put like 100 hours into it and stuff, but having played a few hours into it, I already know what it is. It's Dawn of War, just with modern controls and better camera options and obviously better optimization. It feels great. I can't see anything glaringly wrong with this, and that's generally a good thing. I think that's what everyone wanted, right? It's just they wanted to be able to have proper full screen and so on, and just to have Dawn of War back. And this feels fantastic. There are a few minor bugs, like for example this stealth suit being incredibly stealthy to the point that you can't actually see him, barring the marker lights. The biggest one I've seen so far, which I'm hoping gets fixed, I wasn't given a known issues list, is not really being able to save, which is just odd. It just doesn't work to save. I'm not sure why. I mean, it's fine for me because I'm going to do a whole campaign in one sitting anyway, because I've been having a hankering for that. But yeah, everything else works. You've got the army painter, you've got skirmish battles in case you want to pop up and do some fun ones there. It's good to see Relic Entertainment back up and running again. They've not really had a good time for the past few years, to be honest. So it's good to see them going back to what made them really, really well known and capture the hearts of the Warhammer fan base, myself included. At that point, I was mostly just focusing around fantasy, but this made me jump back into 40k. I ended up buying a bunch of Tau and actually painting up a bunch of Taus. I'm not gonna lie, this happens to me when I play Warhammer games. I'm kind of tempted just to pick up another box of Pathfinders and paint them up, or maybe finally finish up a few battle suits, because I do have a few here. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Let's start a bit of a discussion. I know there's a lot of people excited about this. It's good to see, because it's just good to see the Warhammer community kind of just excited about the same thing together. I'll leave you with one of the in-game cinematics, and have a great day, guys. I'll see you all again very, very soon. And if you want to see more of this before you buy, I will be live later today, as soon as this video goes live, on twitch.tv/thegreatbookofgrudges. Pop by, say hi, and check out the game. Pick your targets. Plasma fire. My Orgold! My beautiful Orgold!
I've had enough of this! Come on, boys, let's get out of here!